It looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody. And we are very happy that you are here with us. I'm going to let Mary Brown to introduce herself and introduce the evening, and then we'll get going with our first department, which is the mathematics department.
Thanks, Aline. Hello, welcome everybody to tonight's session called Meet the Upper School Faculty. I'm Mary Brown. I'm the Director of Middle and Upper School Enrollment here at Catlin Gabel. I also want to extend a warm welcome to those Catlin Gabel 8th grade families who have tuned in for tonight. We hope you all find it helpful. They will be back-to-back 30-minute sessions featuring each of our 7 academic departments in the upper school. You should have received the schedule in your confirmation email, so you are welcome to stay for the entire event, or you can pick and choose whichever sessions seem most interesting to you. As a reminder, we are recording tonight's event and we will post it on the website next week. So if you're not able to tune in to some sessions that you are interested in, you can absolutely watch the recording next week. Also want to remind you that to feel free to submit your questions in the chat as you think of them. We won't answer them via the chat. We will just address them at the second half of each of the sessions, but you don't need to wait and try to keep that question in your head. You can certainly enter those into the chat as you think of them. And with that, I will turn it over to Arlene Garcia Rubio.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Aline Garcia Rubio. I'm the head of the upper school. I'm just delighted that you're here with us and very grateful that our teachers are joining us tonight in the middle of their week as they think about the students who are currently at Catlin Gabel and that they spent the day with, and as they think about what they're going to do with them tomorrow. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and speak a bit about the mathematics department. Like Mary said, we invite you to place and put any questions in the chat, and then we'll address those afterwards. So with that, I'll let Kenny Nguyen speak first. And Kenny is the mathematics department. He is also an academic leader in mathematics across the school.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. I am going to share my screen here really quickly, see if I remember how to do this. Here we go. So here's our little presentation. As Lane said, my name is Kenny Nguyen. I am the upper school math department chair, and I also have a role as a facilitator of our PS12 math program. So quickly for tonight, what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes is we'll start with faculty introductions. We'll give you a general overview of our program. We have a few examples of lessons that we've run in the past in the department for you to give a sense of what some of the more creative projects in math look like, and then we'll take audience Q&A. We are running a little bit of a skeleton crew tonight, just because a number of our colleagues already presented at the open house on Sunday, and we also have various folks who are out. We have a colleague, for example, who's out on maternity leave. So I'll turn it over to my other colleagues to introduce themselves.
Should we go in order from the top to the bottom? That would make me first.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Derek.
Good. Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Derek Kenorak. I am a proud member of the math department. I get to teach one class alongside my administrative role as academic dean. I also, as it says there, I'm also the Global Online Academy site director. And we have some students every year who take multivariable calculus with Global Online Academy, or GOA. And this year I'm also teaching an independent study in honors abstract algebra with one student who for whom that was the right next course. This is my 4th year at Catlin Gabel, and before this I was math department chair and grade level dean at a school named Newark Academy in northern New Jersey for 13 years. It's good to be with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Rafal. I'm a little bit further down the list. I teach honors pre-calculus and geometry this year. And this is my 2nd year at Catlin Gabel. I was teaching at Lincoln High School in Portland Public Schools prior to this. And yeah, I also, I was lucky enough to teach the honors advanced math seminar last year, which was a fun topics course, similar to what Derek's doing in the independent study. And I'm happy to be here with you all tonight.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Wysocki. I'm at the very bottom of that list. I am currently teaching in the math department, Honors Calculus 1. You can see I also teach computer science, so if you hang around, I'll see you later tonight as well. And I also teach in the Global Online Academy, currently multivariable calculus, but I've also taught number theory, linear algebra, and I also coach teachers as part of the GOA. This is my 12th year at Catlin Gabel. Before that, I've taught in schools in Southern California as well as New York State. And I just really enjoy being here, and I'm glad you're all here to be with us today.
Thanks, everybody. I'll give you a little bit of background information on myself. This year, I'm teaching Honors Calculus 2, Statistics, and Geometry. I've been at Catlin Gabel since 2012. Prior to here, I was a research scientist over at NC State University, where I also finished my PhD and did some work with my advisor on, at that time, ratifying the Common Core state standards for mathematics. So I'll just start off by talking just a little bit about our math program. We recently ratified as a PS12 math team in instructional philosophy. So I'll have all of you, I won't read it out loud, so I'll have all of you read it, and I'll kind of pause here for about 30 seconds and then just talk about some highlights. I think what's special about teaching mathematics and being a math student right now at Catlin Gabel School is this is our math instructional philosophy for our entire PS12 math program. And you'll see I've highlighted some words really emphasizing creative problem solving. For us, it really is all about problem solving. It's about not just having students be able to churn through algorithms, but to approach their mathematics education with curiosity, to persevere through solving challenging problems. And yes, independent effort is important. And we want to make sure that each student is able to do mathematics for themselves, but also that communication and being able to collaborate with others is a really important part of our program. And we have worked hard and we are continuing to work hard to make sure that these skills are being developed throughout our entire program. I think oftentimes in math programs, we have the expectation that students come to us fully formed as great collaborators and great communicators. We know that's not the case. We know those skills have to be specifically taught and nurtured throughout a student's mathematics education. We often get a lot of questions about where students start in terms of their Catlin Gabel mathematics education. This is a little graphic that we've developed for our 612 math program. Talk a little bit less about middle school. We do run an accelerated math program in our middle school where students, we get all students ready to start algebra in 8th grade. And for some of those students, they'll complete algebra in 1 year. Some students need a little bit longer for those ideas to gel. So they'll go through algebra 1A and algebra 1B. Most students start their upper school math career either in algebra 1B or geometry. And usually finish off either in calculus or statistics. That's for the majority of our students. And you can see the trunk kind of bifurcates right there at algebra 2. There are some students who prefer statistics. There are some students who prefer kind of that more traditional pathway on the left, taking you through pre-calculus and calculus. In terms of useful graphics, sometimes this is a more useful table just to give you some typical grade level courses that students take. Again, I would say the majority of our students are in the 2nd and 3rd rows. They start in geometry and they end up either in calculus or statistics. We have some students who are ready to start algebra 2 and will finish our program in honors calculus. And as the slide over here at the end of Honors Calculus 2, for some students who are mathematical outliers, they will finish our program Honors Calculus 2 by junior year. And so oftentimes during their senior year, they'll elect to take multivariable calculus through our Global Online Academy. And as Andy and Derek mentioned, every 2 to 3 years, I would say, we run an advanced math seminar, but we are we are a small program, and so our guarantee is honors calculus 2. If we have the numbers to run it, we will run that advanced math seminar. And then just to talk to you just a little bit about some student opportunities, we have a lovely math help session that we call Math Cafe. That's an opportunity both for students to get help and for our students who are generally juniors and seniors to offer that help. And I think actually that really helps their own understanding of the mathematics. And it's quite lovely to see the students interact and help each other. We run math competitions, the AMC 10 and 12. We usually have student-led math clubs where the students are running and taking their peers through preparation for that material. We have lots of opportunities for cross-divisional collaboration. We have a lot of collaboration, for example, with the science, with our science department. And many of our classes at the end with exhibitions of student learning. We have a lovely creative art center where sometimes we've had lovely poster sessions. And again, hearkening back to that math instructional philosophy, we really feel like projects are meant to be exhibited, meant to be communicated, and that's helpful for both students and the community. And finally, we have opportunities to be teaching assistants in our courses. And again, usually that's usually juniors and seniors. And then finally, as Andy and Derek and Jim talked about, we have those GOA courses. GOA is the Global Online Academy. So there are a couple of examples that we'd like to talk through to kind of illustrate some of our more innovative pedagogy. And I'm going to actually get us started. I will preface with what I'm about to present. This was actually a very special kind of opportunity back in 2016, 2017. I had worked with some colleagues in the psychology department at NC State when I was a research scientist there. And this was an opportunity to partner with them on the study of daily student stressors. What came out of it was a report and a research report, as you can kind of see here. I've just selected some pages from it on the right. The idea was for that particular class, thinking hard about the types of stressors that they and their peers are experiencing on a day-to-day basis was really, really important for them. I don't want this to turn into a research presentation, but I will tell you that our main goals were to measure physical and emotional reactivity. And the idea from that is, turns out it's a really bad idea to ask people how stressed out you are, because that turns out to have very little validity and reliability. So what we want to do is we actually want to ask people to fill out daily diaries and on a day-to-day basis to report on what were the actual physical and emotional reactivity that they had to particular stressors. And we know daily stressors appear in interpersonal, school, home, and through your own social network. So the students measured that. They learned a regression technique called multi-level modeling or hierarchical linear modeling. And they use that to estimate interactions between mean levels of wellness, daily behaviors, and personality traits. They also conducted at the end of that class semi-structured interviews to kind of add the qualitative data to that. And instead of just giving you all the research results, I thought that their conclusion was awesome and amazing. And I want to share that with you. So what they felt that they learned from doing all of the statistical research was that statistical research, it can help us to confirm the extent to which we know that known processes are happening. So they found that, not surprising for their peers, it was interpersonal, school, and home stressors were the most commonly reported domain stressors. It's pretty obvious from most adolescents that you talk to. More importantly, it challenged their assumptions and biases. They came in reading some of the research literature, says females are more reactive than males to emotional stressors. And they actually found the opposite and again, I'm talking about for Catlin Gabel students here. So what they found was that turns out that females reported the same level of daily stressors, emotional distressors, and physical distressors as males, and were no more reactive. However, male students were more emotionally reactive to school stressors. And that was kind of a shock to them of, oh my goodness, maybe a lot of the things that we're talking about are not quite right. And we need to pay attention to our male students. Students reported sleeping less after days when they experienced high levels of depression. And again, this was actually especially true for young male students. And so for them, going through 4 years of being an adolescent and being told that as young male students, they didn't need help, they looked at at these data and were like, oh my goodness, like maybe we need to be helping our young male students cope with stress. And finally, it humbly reaffirms the obvious. They found that students who reported high levels of perceived parental pressure actually did not report any higher GPAs, but did report significantly higher levels of self-evaluated perfectionism, burnout. And then this was actually especially true for female students. And finally, unfortunately, they were actually kind of sad about this, but insufficient sleep is associated with a host of negative things. So I just wanted to share that with you because that came from the students. And as they were thinking about this entire year of research that they had done, that's what they chose to write about in the conclusion to this report. And it was actually a really, really fun being able to shepherd them through this process. I'm going to turn it over to Andy Rafal now, who's going to talk about a project that he did last year in geometry.
Yeah, hi everyone. So last year, we've been in this pandemic, and so geometry is a class that's usually it's mostly freshmen and sophomores in this class, and we wanted to have a little bit of fun with our volume and surface area unit. So we had this sort of story we made up. Tyler was really the creative genius behind this. Essentially, there's this story that Coca-Cola is coming up with this plan to survive quarantine, and they wanted to provide 24 hours of support. And so they wanted to sell market a new product with 24 cans of cola. And so we had students go through and use their knowledge of volume and surface area of cylinders, as well as different ways of packing things, to come up with different prototypes for how they could package 24 cans. And we brought a bunch of these empty cans for them to actually test it out, and asked students to bring some thin cardboard. Some students went all out and even painted it, as you can see there on the top left, and even made a little Coca-Cola label. Yeah, we got to test out all different kinds of ideas. On the bottom right, there was one group called it Pizza Cola. And they had this quarter of like this cylinder that was just like cut into like 1/4 slice that was a slice of pizza. They said you could buy your cola with pizza. And we tried to make sure that students somehow connected this to a marketing plan, and they all had to present, and we had to pretend that I was the marketing director, and that we're all presenting to this audience and trying to sell the idea. So this is some of the more lighthearted, kind of fun, creative projects where we fold in some of these ideas of what we're learning in class, and also find a way to make it somewhat real world connected, and also kind of fun and playful, and use other skills like communication.
And I think at this point, we're going to open it up to questions. So I'll turn it back to Aline.
Thank you. Thank you for showing us a little bit of the work that your students are doing in your classes, or the students, the work that they've done recently. There's a number of questions in the chat, and some of them have to do with student placement. How do we go about placing students who are coming in at varying levels of math? And namely, if a student has already taken, say, statistics or algebra, would they be able to enter in a more advanced level than geometry or algebra 1B?
I can answer that question because as I handle most placement decisions. So yes, when a student enters, what we do is we try to look holistically at their portfolio. So we look at the previous class that they've taken. We ask for teacher recommendations. We talk, I often try to call and get a sense of what their program was like. And then we also have a placement test. So all of those kind of pieces of information feed into the placement process. I also saw a question asking about that branching from in Algebra 2 in terms of honors and our standard level class. I first want to say that both our standard and honors level classes are both, I would say, rigorous and challenging curricula. They both get students through calculus, and both students in the calculus and honors calculus class do take and do and perform well on the AP calculus exam. And so I think there's not an issue there. For honors calculus, our honors policy is really about, it's about student curiosity and student perseverance, and wanting to really dive deeply into the mathematics. I wonder if one of my other colleagues might be willing to just maybe talk a little bit about, some of that passion that we're looking for.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the when we think about the students who particularly fare well in honors classes, we're typically looking for three different kinds of criteria. We're looking for students who have strong procedural fluency, so they've retained ideas that they've studied before. They can call forth skill sets that they may have studied in the past and do that with a good deal of fluency. They're persistent problem solvers, so when faced with a new problem, they like to push into it. They like to lean into that and have a lot of what we call productive failure. And then that third piece is they really authentically enjoy what they're doing. Hopefully that's true in every class. That's certainly our goal. And I think a lot of that language that I just used, you'll see echoed in that PS12 math vision statement that Kenny shared earlier. So it's really kind of woven through. At the honors level, those things show up a bit more often. But I teach Algebra 1 standard to ninth graders, and we're exploring a lot of the same things: productive failure, a lot of joy, and building that fluency.
I'll ask the next question. There's a couple of questions in the chat that speak to the variance in students and in their perception of their strength as students of mathematics. So on the one hand, we have someone asking, I don't feel like I'm a very strong math student. What supports and help would you provide? On the other hand, somebody is saying, what if I'm interested in something that might require an independent study? Is that an option if a subject is not covered in the regular curriculum?
Well, one of the supports that we offer is Math Cafe, as Kenny mentioned earlier. We're currently running 4 sessions of Math Cafe every week, and those are run with 1 or 2 teachers as well as 1 or 2 TAs. So we have students TAing in a variety of classes, and part of the requirement of being a TA is that you also have a weekly shift of Math Cafe during our co-curricular periods around lunchtime. And as far as the more advanced courses, as Derek mentioned, he's doing an independent study this year with a student who completed everything through the Honors Advanced Math Seminar curriculum. So we provide stuff on both ends of that.
And I'll just add, in terms of like, we'd like you to kind of be within our curriculum. And so if, you enter and you're kind of taking pre-calculus and you're interested in like linear algebra or something like that, we'd probably ask you to kind of finish us with pre-calculus. And then there's an opportunity, for example, to take a GOA class on that if you're interested. I just want to make clear that we are a small program, and so we're not going to always be able to offer that independent study, but we will work with you to try to match your interests.
Thank you, Kenny.
And I wanted to add, I was going to add one more thing. And Kenny, I was just going to ask if you could unshare the screen so people could see our faces again. The other thing too is Andy talked about the Math Cafe that we use, and that's a great way for students to get help. And it can be any level of student. There are students in there from Honors Calculus 2 down to Algebra 1B. So it's not perceived as just a place for students who are struggling with math to show up. All sorts of students go to Math Cafe and ask for help, and often turn around and help others at the same time. But at the same time, we also encourage students to make appointments to see us one-on-one. We do have office hours that are separate than Math Cafe. We will have free periods where we can meet with students. And so we do try to make ourselves available in a host of different ways for students who are either having difficulty or just want to explore something that's a little bit different than what's going on in the class, or just want to deepen their understanding. So there's lots of opportunities for students to get that kind of help or get their questions answered in many different ways through our program and through the schedule that we have.
Thank you, Jim. And maybe I'll ask you a follow-up question, Jim, which is actually not associated with what you just described, but there's a question in the chat about AP courses, and I would like for you to address, do we offer AP courses? Do we not? And then what do we think, recommend or not about AP courses?
So great question. We are not an AP school, so we do not offer AP Calculus AB or Calculus BC. However, both of our Honors Calculus 1 and Honors Calculus 2 classes teach the material that would be expected to be seen on those exams. So colleges are not looking, if a school is not an AP school, they're not looking for you to have an AP on your transcript. But if you have an honors level course on your transcript, that's going to take the place of an AP. But if the students want to take an AP exam, they're going to be prepared for that. Our students generally do very well on the AP exam, whether they're taking the AB or the BC exam. And so we feel like we prepare them very well for both of those, even if the course itself isn't called an AP course.
Thank you. There's someone who asked a question about sharing a syllabus for the courses, and what I'd like to do is direct you to our website, and there's an academic page on their website, and under the academic page, there's each discipline. So mathematics would have a sub-page where you'd be able to find the information that you're looking for. And I see that the honors question has been addressed. Let's see. Jim, I'm going to ask you another question. I know you can address this last one probably better than anybody else. And that is, how can you teach mathematics in a rigorous way through the Global Online Academy?
That's a great question. And having taught both of the classes that I see listed there, it depends, the level of the course matters. I will say that for the Global Online Academy, both the linear algebra and number theory are taught very much in an introductory way with an emphasis on applications and ways that that material can be used. So in terms of what most people would consider rigorous, the linear algebra and number theory generally don't replace or wouldn't replace a college level linear algebra or number theory class. But they do give the students a really thorough introduction to both topics. Multivariable calculus, though, while it may not replace that level of course at a very high level kind of STEM institution, it does treat it's a very solid multivariable calculus class, and students who walk out of that will be very well prepared to move on from that particular material. It is not remote learning in the sense that many students got used to during the pandemic at their home schools, where you had a lot of synchronous lessons that they were there with the teacher through. GOA has students literally from around the world. In my multivariable classes here, I have probably 8 to 9 different time zones, as much as 14 hours apart in my class. There's no way to have a synchronous class for that. So a lot of our work is done asynchronously with videos, with activities, with collaborative projects that students work on, and an awful lot of opportunity to check in with their teachers and get really specific feedback. So I do feel like we have a very rigorous class in multivariable, and which is a little bit different than the intro level that the other two are. But it's definitely possible, and many of our students are very successful at it.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm tracking the time. It's 5:59. So I want to thank our mathematics teachers for joining us tonight. And thank you for all the people in the audience who were able to ask some questions. I know that we didn't address every single one of your questions, including the playful ones about mathematics. We look forward to having more conversations with you during the admissions process, and feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have further questions.